Maybe go for a less aggressive pour this time.
So Saturday Siren was kind of born out of inspiration from beers like SDS Pils out of Russian River, and Pivo from Firestone Walker.
Indeed.
Will, lead brewer, and I were kind of on a journey to figure out a American Pilsner, a good drinking beer with a noticeable American hop character. And we were at Hop Harvest a few years back. Big shout out to Matt Hollingberry and the Yakima Valley Hops boys. And they had told us about a hop called Comet. It's kind of an old school hop that they were really likening to Amarillo. They're crossing over a lot of people. So sometimes when you make a beer, you kind of go through iterations on the pilot system and figure out, like Fly Me Away, for example. Many iterations did I go through to find that. But we had a little space on the big system, and we threw together a batch of old school Pilsner. We wanted to try that with like Saws.
Saws was delicious.
Saws was good.
Yeah.
And then we went new school hops. And basically from that first recipe on, it stayed the same.
I don't think it changed anything.
No. And so we kind of hit the clean malt side, straightforward, but also the nice flavor hop.
Indeed. And this clarity,
though. Killer. Justin would be so proud.
I know, right? Shout out to Justin, our cellarman.
Go, Justin. So, I will say there are times when the intensity of the hops could be more toward an IPL, but this one actually is really nice.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
kind of curious.
Right in the deal. How old are we?
Pretty fresh.
Yeah, the fifth. So we're about 8 days old. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Definitely not as dank as some of the earlier iterations were.
We had to play around with where we put them in the whirlpool to kind of get this right, but this one's tasty.
Oh yeah.
This is right where it should be. But all that to say, the Pilsner game has kind of taken a stronger approach in the brewing scene these days, and I would suspect that over the next several months, you'll see more iterations of Pilsners, whether it be pilot batches or big batches, because something I hope to endeavor upon in 19 is doing some more Pilsners.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's news to me, but I like it.
Yeah. But Siren, really pleased with. It started out as a summer seasonal, I think in 2017.
Yeah, it's just last year.
Yeah, 2017 it was a seasonal, and quickly rose to year-round status. The out-of-state markets also liked it, and now it's a great selling beer for us, and no longer exists just in the summer. So Saturday Siren, for those of you who may need a little clarification there. On Saturdays in Oklahoma City, they sound the siren to signify that it's noon, but also to test the tornado siren.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a symbol for me. I lived in Washington for a couple summers, and when I was gone, I didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, the siren went off, and it was like, I'm home. And so I've always wanted to name a beer after the siren, and lo and behold, here it is in the flesh, living. So yeah, Shawn, maybe some commentary on siren here from you?
Well, I just have to say, I think Blake and I learned simultaneously that sirens actually go off in Tulsa on Wednesday at noon from Old Wes at Marshall. He brought this up at one of the Hop Symposium beers, and I was like, I did not realize that they did it on a different day.
And on Kansas, I think it's Wednesday or some other day than Saturday at noon. So
that's wild.
There are siren tests, just not Saturday. I mean, seems like a convenient day. Like Wednesday, I'm at work.
Yeah, and Saturday, like everyone's kind of at home, and like you might be in an office where you can't necessarily check on the weather, and I don't know. But anyway, I guess about the beer. The intricacies.
I think that's relevant information.
The intricacies of weather phenomenon, though. I mean, I really get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I I have to say, I like this beer. It's maybe not my favorite. I think it has a little much of like the American wild kind of character to it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially over the spare rib, which has like a nice crisp citrusy kind of profile to it.
This is definitely more on the dank end than the citrusy end.
Yeah.
Hop profile wise.
Yeah, but I mean, otherwise, like I think it nails pretty much all the things that you look for. Like brilliant freaking clarity. It's got, again, we did get some criticism that maybe it was a little hoppy, like toward the IPL end, but like it's not super bitter. I mean, that maybe just be a personal preference thing, and especially coming from, again, drinking a lot of F5, which is pretty darn bitter, and especially in comparison to a lot of the newer IPAs.
Sure.
I could definitely see how maybe this would come across. It's certainly not like a Czech Pils or something where it's just like a very gentle, kind of floral, woodsy,
subtle,
spicy. I mean, this is definitely a little more in your face than kind of a typical old world Pils. But, as you said, that was the whole point, was to kind of come up with something that was a little bit of a hybrid.
On the American end, and we probably erred on the American side a little, but hey.
As Americans are wont to do.
This is America.
Yeah.
Also, just for clarification's sake, it does use Pilsner yeast, Augustiner, I believe, which super happy with. Makes very clean beer.
Yeah.
And gives us a reason to keep it around.
Yeah, and a reasonable turn time, which is nice at a production brewery. A lot of places that will use a more traditional lager yeast, they'll go and they will lager a beer for 4, 6, 8 weeks for it to finish attenuating. With this particular yeast and our fermentation profile, I mean, we turn this beer in 10 or 14 days, I would say. 14
is probably pretty good, but I do think it tastes best at the month time. If we can give it those extra couple weeks in the tank, which I actually think this batch was.
Oh, really?
And I prefer that.
Yeah, no doubt. It kind of mellows a little bit of that hop edge to it.
As we say sometimes with F5, it's not as tight.
Yeah.
It's not as real intense, which sometimes is good because when it gets out in the market, it gives it that time to sort of to gel together instead of being, so intense.
Indeed.
But
with our new liquor laws now, fortunately, we have cold storage, and so now it necessarily doesn't have to sit on a warm shelf as long.
It's true.
So I mean, you get, hopefully something a little more representative of kind of what we taste here, and we go like, wow, this particular batch is just on point. Like it's what we look for in every single one. If we could make every single one exactly like this one, we would. And I mean, this one, honestly, this is probably one of my favorite batches of Siren I've had in recent memory.
Top notch.
Yeah, it definitely, like I said, it has a little bit of American Wild, but less of that dank.
And since you mentioned the liquor laws, shout out to Stephanie Bice, CBAO, and the people of Oklahoma for putting beer and wine in gas stations and grocery stores.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. With that, I think we've completed Saturday Siren.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on Between Two Ferms. Till next time.